The silver ship moved through space like a ghost. It was huge, bigger than any building on Earth. Inside the ship, Admiral HFY stood looking at the small blue planet on his screen. His 6 arms moved across the control panels while his yellow eyes studied the readings. "Another primitive world," he said to his crew. His voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. "They barely have nuclear power. Their biggest ships are smaller than our escape pods." The other aliens nodded. They had done this many times before. Find a weak planet, show them who was stronger, take what they wanted. It was always the same story. These humans would be no different. Commander Veltar looked at the data coming from their sensors. They send radio signals into space like children shouting in the dark. They fight wars with chemical explosives. Their technology is at least 500 years behind ours. Admiral HFY smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Perfect. We will take their strongest fighters for our armies. The rest can work in our minds. Begin the standard approach." Far below on Earth, Captain Jake Morrison was having trouble sleeping. It was 3 in the morning, but something felt wrong. He had been in the Earth Defense Force for 20 years. He knew when danger was coming. The emergency alarm filled his small room with red light. Jake jumped out of bed and grabbed his uniform. The communication device on his desk was flashing with urgent messages. "Captain Morrison, report to Command Center immediately," came the voice of Lieutenant Amy Parker. "We have visitors." Jake ran through the empty hallways of the lunar base. His boots made loud sounds on the metal floor. Other officers were running too, all heading to the same place. Everyone looked worried. The command center was full of people staring at screens. General Pete Adams stood in the middle, his gray hair messy from being woken up. Dr. Emma Walsh was at her computer typing fast. "What do we have?" Jake asked. General Adams pointed at the main screen. 3 ships, each about 2 miles long. They appeared at the edge of our solar system an hour ago. They're not from here. Jake looked at the shapes on the screen. The alien ships looked like they were made of crystal and metal twisted together. They moved in perfect formation, heading straight for Earth. "Have they tried to talk to us?" Jake asked. Dr. Walsh looked up from her computer. "Yes, the message came in 20 minutes ago. I'm still working on translating it, but the basic meaning is clear. They want us to surrender." Lieutenant Parker handed Jake a paper with the translation. The words made his blood feel cold. "Primitive species. Prepare for integration into collective. Resistance futile. Submit or face consequences." General Adams crossed his arms. "They sound pretty sure of themselves." Jake studied the alien ships on the screen. They were beautiful in a scary way, but something bothered him. They're not even trying to hide. No scouts, no careful approach. They just showed up and told us to give up. "Maybe they don't need to be careful," said Dr. Walsh. "Their technology is clearly ahead of ours." "Or maybe they're too proud," Jake said. "Have you sent word to the other bases?" General Adams nodded. "Admiral Kate Hughes at Mars Station has been informed. President Lisa Grant is calling an emergency meeting. Everyone knows." Jake walked to the communications panel. "Get me a direct line to Admiral Hughes." While they waited for the connection, Dr. Walsh pulled Jake aside. "I've been studying their transmission patterns. Something feels wrong about how casual they are. They're treating us like we're insects." "Maybe that's good," Jake said quietly. "Insects can bite." The screen flickered and Admiral Hughes appeared. She was on the bridge of her command ship orbiting Mars. Behind her, Jake could see officers working at their stations. "Jake, good to see you're awake," she said. "I assume you've seen our new neighbors." "What's the status of the outer system?" Jake asked. Admiral Hughes smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "All stations are reporting ready. The asteroid mining crews have been informed. They know what to do." Jake felt some of his tension ease. "How long before the aliens reach Earth?" "Their current speed, about 18 hours. They're not in any hurry." On the alien ship, Admiral HFY was reviewing the plan with his officers. The bridge was dark except for the glow from their screens. The air smelled like sulfur and ozone. "The humans have detected us," reported Commander Veltar. "They are sending many radio messages to each other." "Fear," said Admiral HFY. No, they cannot fight us. Begin scanning for their military installations. We will destroy a few to show our power, then accept their surrender. The alien sensors swept across Earth's solar system. They found the human bases on the Moon and Mars. They detected the small patrol ships moving between planets. Everything looked exactly as expected for a primitive species. Their largest warship is only 800 meters long, reported the sensor officer. We could destroy their entire fleet with one shot. Admiral Kethvar stood up, his tall body casting shadows across the bridge. Then we will give them one chance to surrender peacefully. If they refuse, we will show them what real power looks like. Back on Earth, President Lisa Grant finished reading the intelligence report. She sat in the secure bunker deep beneath the White House, surrounded by her top advisors. The room was quiet, except for the hum of computers. How sure are we about the timeline? She asked. General Adams spoke through the video connection. Our best estimate is 18 hours before they reach Earth orbit. They seem confident enough to take their time. And our preparations? All hidden facilities are ready, Madam President. The aliens have no idea what they're walking into. President Grant leaned back in her chair. For 50 years, ever since humans first detected signs of alien civilizations, they had been preparing for this day. Not preparing to fight aliens, but preparing to fight aliens who thought humans were weak. Very well, she said. Authorization code Lighthouse is now active. God help us all. In space, the alien ships continued their slow approach to Earth. Admiral Kethvar watched the primitive planet grow larger on his screens. Soon the humans would learn their place in the galaxy. Soon another world would belong to the collective. He had no idea that deep in the asteroid belt, things were beginning to wake up. Things that had been sleeping in the dark for years, waiting for this moment. Things that would teach the collective a lesson about underestimating the children of Earth. The alien ship moved closer to Earth's moon like a giant predator. Admiral Kethvar stood on his bridge, watching the gray surface of the moon fill his screens. His crew worked quietly around him, preparing for the demonstration that would make the humans surrender. Begin the gravity manipulation, he ordered. His voice echoed through the crystal corridors of the ship. The alien vessel's weapons powered up with a deep humming sound. Energy flowed through the biometal hull like blood through veins. Below them, the moon's surface began to change. Captain Jake Morrison watched from the bridge of the EDF Valiant. The ship was hiding behind Earth, its engines running silent. Around him, his crew stared at their screens in amazement and horror. Look at that, whispered Lieutenant Amy Parker. Her fingers moved over the communications panel, recording everything. The alien ship was carving a perfect sphere out of the moon. Chunks of rock the size of mountains floated away into space like dust. The hole in the moon's surface was perfectly smooth, as if someone had used a giant ice cream scoop. Sergeant Nick Collins checked his weapon systems for the 10th time. Sir, they're not even trying to hide what they can do. They want us to see this. Jake nodded, his eyes fixed on the destruction. The aliens were sending a clear message. They could reshape matter itself. They could destroy planets. They expected humans to be terrified. Communications, patch me through to Admiral Kate Hughes at Mars Station, Jake said. His voice was calm, but his hands were shaking slightly. The screen flickered and Admiral Hughes appeared. She was watching the same terrible display from her command ship orbiting Mars. Her face was hard as stone. Impressive, she said. But not unexpected. Are you ready, Jake? All systems green, waiting for your signal. Admiral Hughes turned to someone off screen. Begin Operation Lighthouse. All hidden units activate on my mark. Dr. Emma Walsh worked at her science station on the Valiant. She had been studying the alien ship's energy patterns while it carved up the moon. What she found made her heart race. Captain, she called out. The alien ship is using massive amounts of power for that demonstration. Their energy output is incredible, but there's something else. Jake walked over to her station. What is it? They're showing off, but they're not being efficient. It's like they want to use as much power as possible to scare us. A more advanced species would have done the same thing with half the energy. So they're wasteful? Or they're so used to fighting weak enemies that they never learn to be careful with their resources. On the alien ship, Commander Veltar was feeling proud of their display. The humans must be terrified by now. Their primitive sensors would be detecting the massive energy discharge. Their leaders would be preparing to surrender. Scan for human military responses, Admiral Kethvar ordered. They should be moving their pathetic fleet into defensive positions. The sensor officer's tentacles danced over his controls. I detect increased communications traffic throughout their system. Their small ships are moving, but they appear to be retreating to defensive positions around their home planet. Cowards, Admiral Kethvar said with satisfaction. Send them our terms. They have 1 hour to surrender completely, or we will demonstrate our power on their cities. But something was wrong. The sensor readings were changing. New energy signatures were appearing throughout the human solar system. At first, there were just a few, then dozens, then hundreds. Deep in the asteroid belt, Chief Engineer Diana Ross watched her instruments with growing excitement. Around her, the hidden shipyard that had been disguised as a mining operation was coming to life. Massive doors opened in what looked like ordinary asteroids, revealing the truth inside. All systems online, she reported to her team. The Titan is ready for deployment. The EDF Titan was not yet complete, but it was operational. 4 kilometers of steel and weapons built in secret over 15 years. Diana and her crew had lived in the asteroid belt, working in shifts, preparing for this day. Begin launch sequence, came the order from Mars Command. Show them what we've been building. Similar scenes were playing out across the solar system. Near Jupiter, the EDF behemoth uncloaked from its hiding place in the gas giant's radiation belt. Commander Alan Price had kept his ship and crew in the dangerous area for 2 years waiting. This is Behemoth to all units, he transmitted. We are go for Operation Lighthouse. Repeat, we are go. The ship's antimatter engines lit up the darkness. Around Jupiter, the massive vessel, over 4 kilometers long, began moving toward the inner system. Its hull was covered with weapons that had never been tested in real combat, designed by humans who had spent decades studying alien technology through deep space telescopes. Captain Helen Torres had been waiting the longest. Her ship, the EDF Leviathan, had been hiding in the shadow of Ceres for 18 months. The crew had lived on recycled air and rationed food, practicing their combat drills in complete silence. All hands, this is the captain, she announced over the ship's communication system. Today we find out if all our preparation was worth it. All stations report ready. The Leviathan emerged from behind the asteroid like a sea monster rising from the depths. Its railgun batteries extended from the hull like the spines of some giant creature, nuclear missiles loaded into launch tubes that could fire in any direction. On the alien ship, the sensor officer's voice rose in panic. Admiral, I'm detecting massive ships throughout the human system. Their energy signatures are enormous. Admiral Kethvar rushed to the sensor station. What he saw on the screen made his yellow eyes widen in shock. The humans had not just a few small patrol boats. They had a fleet of warships that rivaled the collective's own vessels in size. This is impossible, he hissed. Our intelligence reported only primitive spacecraft. How did we miss ships this large? Commander Veltar was studying the tactical display. Sir, they've been hiding them. These ships were powered down, camouflaged. They've been waiting for us. The human fleet was revealing itself across the entire solar system. Ships emerged from hiding places behind moons, inside asteroid fields, and in the radiation shadows of gas giants. Each one was enormous, covered with weapons, and clearly built for war. Admiral Kethvar felt something he had not experienced in centuries. Fear. Not just surprise or concern, but real fear. The humans had been expecting them. More than that, they had been preparing. How many ships? He asked quietly. Still counting, sir. At least 40 capital ships, with more appearing every minute. And sir, they're all moving toward us. Jake Morrison received the tactical update from Admiral Hughes. The hidden fleet was fully deployed and moving into attack positions. The aliens had stopped their demonstration and were clearly trying to figure out what was happening. Signal from alien flagship, reported Lieutenant Parker. They're demanding to know where our ships came from. Jake smiled for the first time since the crisis began. Tell them the truth, Lieutenant. Tell them we've been waiting for someone like them to show up. Tell them welcome to Earth. The alien demonstration had backfired completely. Instead of terrifying humanity into surrender, it had triggered the revelation of a military force that the collective had never imagined existed. The hunters had become the hunted, and they were just beginning to understand what kind of species they had decided to threaten. The first human warship appeared like a nightmare from the darkness of space. Captain Helen Torres stood on the bridge of the EDF Leviathan as her ship moved out from behind Ceres. The massive vessel stretched over 4 kilometers from front to back, its black hull covered with weapons that gleamed in the starlight. "All stations report ready for combat," said Lieutenant Commander Sam Wright from his position at the weapons console. His fingers moved over the controls, bringing the ship's railguns online. Each gun was the size of a city block and could fire metal slugs at incredible speeds. "Communications are clear," reported Major Lucy Chen from her station. "All human ships are receiving our signals. The aliens are trying to scan us, but our armor is blocking most of their sensors." Captain Torres walked to the center of the bridge. Around her, dozens of crew members worked at their stations. These people had trained for years in secret. They had practiced every possible battle scenario. Today they would find out if their preparation was enough. "Signal the fleet," she ordered. "This is Leviathan. We are in position and ready to engage." On the alien flagship, Admiral Kethavar stared at his screens in growing panic. The human ships kept appearing from everywhere. His sensors showed massive vessels emerging from asteroid fields, gas giant shadows, and empty space where nothing should exist. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Our scouts surveyed this system for months. We detected only small ships and primitive technology." Commander Veltar was working frantically at his station. "Sir, the humans must have been hiding these ships with some kind of stealth technology. Our sensors were fooled completely." "What kind of weapons do they have?" "I'm detecting railgun systems, missile tubes, and energy weapons." "Sir, some of these ships are larger than our own flagship." Admiral Kethavar felt his confidence cracking. The collective had conquered hundreds of worlds. They had faced species with advanced technology before, but they had never encountered a civilization that had been preparing specifically to fight them. Near Jupiter, Commander Alan Price watched his tactical display as more human ships joined the formation. The EDF Behemoth was one of the largest ships in the fleet, and its antimatter engines cast blue light across the surrounding space. "Sir, we're receiving updated orders from Admiral Hughes," reported his communications officer. "All ships are to form a defensive sphere around the alien fleet." Commander Price smiled grimly. "They walked right into our trap. Signal all ships in Jupiter sector. Begin movement to intercept position." The human fleet was not just large, it was coordinated. Ships that had been hiding throughout the solar system began moving in perfect formation. They had practiced this maneuver hundreds of times in simulations. Every captain knew exactly where to go and when to be there. Dr. Emma Walsh worked at her science station aboard the Valiant, analyzing the alien ships as they tried to respond to the human fleet. What she saw made her excited and worried at the same time. "Captain Morrison," she called out. "The aliens are powerful, but they're not used to fighting anyone who can fight back. Look at their formation." Jake Morrison studied the tactical display. The alien ships were bunched together like they were afraid. Their weapons were pointed in all directions, but they were not moving to take advantage of their position. "They're confused," he realized. "They expected us to run away or surrender. They don't know how to handle a real fight." "Exactly. And Captain, there's something else. Their ships are incredibly advanced, but they're designed for attacking planets and weak enemies. They're not built for ship-to-ship combat against equals." Lieutenant Amy Parker looked up from her communications station. "Sir, Admiral Hughes is signaling the fleet we're surrounding the aliens completely." Jake nodded. "Good. Let them think about their situation for a while." On Mars, Admiral Kate Hughes stood in her command center, watching as her carefully planned operation unfolded. For decades, she had worked with the best military minds on Earth to prepare for this day. They had studied every piece of information about hostile alien species. They had built ships designed specifically to fight enemies with superior technology. "Status report," she ordered. "All ships are in position," reported her tactical officer. "The alien fleet is completely surrounded. 43 human warships have them trapped." "Any response from the aliens?" "They're scanning us constantly. But they haven't made any aggressive moves. I think they're trying to figure out what to do." Admiral Hughes had been waiting for this moment her entire career. "Open a channel to the alien flagship. It's time for them to understand who they're dealing with." The communication went out on all frequencies. Admiral Hughes's voice was calm but firm as she spoke to the aliens for the first time. "This is Admiral Kate Hughes of the Earth Defense Force. You have entered our space without permission and threatened our people. You have 30 seconds to explain your hostile actions before we consider you an enemy fleet." Admiral Kethvar received the human message with growing alarm. The voice was not frightened or begging for mercy. It was the voice of someone who expected to be obeyed. "They're giving us an ultimatum," Commander Veltar said in disbelief. "These primitives are threatening us." "Sir," called out the sensor officer, "I'm detecting massive energy buildups on the human ships. They're charging their weapons." Admiral Kethvar looked at his tactical display. His 3 ships were surrounded by more than 40 human vessels. Each human ship was bristling with weapons and pointing them directly at the collective fleet. "Open communications," he ordered. His voice was no longer confident. "This is Admiral Kethvar of the Zephyrian Collective. We demand safe passage out of your system." Admiral Hughes' response came back immediately. "Demand? You destroyed part of our moon and threatened our world. You don't get to make demands. You get to answer questions." Captain Torres listened to the communication from her bridge on the Leviathan. Around her, the crew was ready for battle. The ship's weapons were fully charged and targeted on the alien flagship. "The aliens are trying to save face," Major Chen observed. "But they're trapped and they know it." "Signal from Admiral Hughes," reported Lieutenant Wright. "All ships are authorized to fire if the aliens make any aggressive moves." Captain Torres nodded. "Understood. Keep all weapons locked on target. If they so much as twitch in the wrong direction, we end this quickly." The situation in space had completely reversed. The aliens who had come to demonstrate their power and accept humanity's surrender were now surrounded and outgunned. The humans they had expected to find cowering in fear were instead pointing enough weapons at them to turn their ships into cosmic dust. Admiral Kethvar realized that everything his people believed about primitive species was wrong. These humans had not only been expecting visitors like the collective, they had been preparing to fight them. The demonstration that was supposed to terrify Earth into submission had instead triggered the revelation of a military force that rivaled the collective's own power. "What are your orders, sir?" asked Commander Veltar quietly. Admiral Kethvar stared at the human ships surrounding his fleet. For the first time in his long career, he truly did not know what to do. The hunters had become the hunted, and the prey had turned out to have very sharp teeth. Admiral Kethvar decided to try one last threat. His pride would not let him admit defeat to these primitive humans. He opened communications to the entire human fleet, his voice filled with anger and desperation. "You make a grave mistake, humans. Our technology is beyond your understanding. Our shields can stop any weapon you possess. Our singularity cannons can tear holes in space itself. Stand down now or face complete destruction." General Pete Adams listened to the alien transmission from his command post on Earth. He had spent 20 years studying alien psychology and warfare. He knew exactly what the alien admiral was trying to do. "He's bluffing," Adams said to Dr. Emma Walsh, who was monitoring the conversation. "Desperate species always make bigger threats when they're cornered." Dr. Walsh nodded. His voice pattern shows stress. He's not as confident as he wants us to believe. Admiral Kate Hughes received the alien threat with cold amusement. She had been expecting something like this. Bullies always tried to sound tough when someone finally stood up to them. "All ships, this is Mars Command," she transmitted to the human fleet. "The aliens have refused our terms and made threats against Earth. Operation Thunderstrike is now authorized. Show them what human warriors can do." Captain Helen Torres smiled as she received the order. Her crew had been waiting for this moment for years. All hands battle stations. Target the alien flagship. Prepare to fire on my command. The Leviathan's massive railguns moved into position. Each weapon could fire tungsten slugs at 30% of light speed. The kinetic energy from just one shot could crack a planet's crust. Lieutenant Commander, Sam Wright called out readings from his weapons console. Railgun batteries 1 through 12 are locked on target. Nuclear missiles are loaded and ready. All systems green. Fire, Captain Torres ordered. The first human shot came from the Leviathan's main battery. A tungsten slug the size of a telephone pole streaked across space at incredible speed. It hit the alien flagship's shields and something unexpected happened. The alien shields flared and collapsed completely. The tungsten slug punched through the biometal hull like it was made of paper. Emergency alarms screamed throughout the alien ship as atmosphere vented into space. Admiral Kethvar was thrown to the floor of his bridge as his ship shook from the impact. Around him, control panels exploded in showers of sparks. The lights flickered and went out. "Shields are down," screamed the defense officer. "Hull breach on levels 7 through 12. We're losing atmosphere." "How is this possible?" Admiral Kethvar demanded. "Our shields can stop plasma cannons and energy beams." Commander Veltar struggled to his feet, checking his instruments. "Sir, they're not using energy weapons. They're firing solid projectiles at relativistic speeds. Our shields were designed to stop energy, not kinetic impacts." The human attack had just begun. Captain Torres watched her tactical display as more human ships opened fire. The EDF Behemoth launched a salvo of antimatter missiles. The EDF Rampart fired its particle beam weapons. The EDF Fortress sent a spread of nuclear warheads racing toward the alien fleet. Commander Alan Price coordinated his ship's attack from the bridge of the Behemoth. "Target their engine section. We want to disable them, not destroy them completely." His weapons officer nodded. "Antimatter missiles locked on target. Firing now." The missiles streaked across space, their drives leaving bright trails in the darkness. When they hit the second alien ship, the explosions were visible from Earth. Entire sections of the alien vessel simply vanished in bursts of pure energy. On the third alien ship, Captain Zextal watched his fellow commanders' vessels being torn apart by human weapons. His own ship was taking hits from multiple directions. The humans were not just firing randomly. They were using coordinated tactics that spoke of years of training. "Sir, our main weapons are offline," reported his tactical officer. "The humans are targeting our weapon systems specifically. Can we retreat? Our engines are damaged. We're trapped." Captain Jake Morrison watched the battle from the bridge of the Valiant. The human fleet was performing exactly as planned. Years of training and preparation were paying off. "The aliens are good at destroying planets," he observed to Lieutenant Amy Parker. "But they've never fought anyone who could fight back. They don't know how to handle a real space battle." Dr. Emma Walsh was monitoring the alien communications. "Captain, they're sending distress signals to each other. They sound panicked." "Good," Jake said grimly. "Maybe now they'll understand that Earth is not defenseless." The battle was not even close to fair. The aliens had superior technology in some areas, but the humans had superior tactics, superior numbers, and superior motivation. They were fighting to defend their home world. The aliens were just bullies who had picked the wrong target. Admiral Hughes watched the tactical display. From Mars Command, the alien fleet was crippled and surrounded. It was time to end this. "All ships cease fire," she ordered. "Let's see if they want to talk now." The space around Earth fell silent except for the emergency transmissions from the damaged alien ships. Debris floated between the fleets like metal snow. The aliens' demonstration of power had turned into a demonstration of human military capability. Admiral Kethvar struggled to his feet on his ruined bridge. Half his crew was dead or injured. His magnificent flagship was barely functional. Around him, the surviving officers worked desperately to keep life support running. "Status of the other ships?" he asked weakly. "Captain Zextal's ship is dead in space. The third vessel has lost all weapons and most engines. Sir, we've lost." The alien admiral felt something he had never experienced before: complete defeat. His species had conquered the galaxy by being stronger than everyone else, but these humans had been ready for them. More than ready. A new transmission came from the human fleet. Admiral Hughes's voice was calm but firm. "Alien ships, this is Admiral Hughes. Your weapons are disabled and your ships are crippled. You have two choices. You can surrender and we will allow you to leave our space, or you can continue fighting, and we will destroy you completely. You have 60 seconds to decide." Admiral Kethvar looked around his broken bridge. His crew was looking at him, waiting for orders, but there was only one choice left. "Open communications," he said quietly. "This is Admiral Kethvar. We surrender." The words tasted like poison in his mouth, but they were the only words that would keep his people alive. The mighty Zephyrian Collective had been defeated by a species they had dismissed as primitive. The humans had not just fought back, they had won. The word surrender echoed through space like thunder. Admiral Kethvar had never spoken that word before in his long military career. Around him, the bridge of his flagship was filled with smoke and the smell of burning metal. Half his officers were dead or wounded. Commander Veltar limped over to his admiral, his uniform torn and blood running down his face. "Sir, the humans are responding to our surrender." Admiral Kate Hughes's voice came through the damaged speakers clearly. "Admiral Kethvar, we acknowledge your surrender. You will power down all remaining weapons immediately. Any attempt to restart your engines or weapon systems will be considered an act of war." Admiral Kethvar closed his yellow eyes in defeat. "Comply with their demands. Power down everything except life support." On the bridge of the EDF Leviathan, Captain Helen Torres watched as the alien ships went dark one by one. Their weapon systems shut down. Their engines stopped glowing. The mighty collective fleet was now just floating metal in space. "Signal from Admiral Hughes," reported Lieutenant Commander Sam Wright. "We're to maintain position around the alien ships but hold fire unless they try something." Captain Torres nodded. "Good. Major Chen, prepare a boarding party. I want to know everything about these ships and their technology." Major Lucy Chen had been waiting for this order. "Yes, sir. Team Alpha is ready to go. We've been studying alien ship designs for years." Across the human fleet, similar preparations were being made. The humans had not just won a battle. They had captured advanced alien technology and prisoners who could tell them about other hostile species in the galaxy. Dr. Emma Walsh was practically dancing with excitement as she analyzed the readings from the alien ships. "Captain Morrison, this is incredible. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours in some areas, but they never developed proper military tactics." Jake Morrison studied the tactical reports coming in from other ships. "It looks like they've been bullying weaker species for so long that they forgot how to fight equals. They expected us to be afraid. Instead, we were ready," Dr. Walsh said with satisfaction. 50 years of preparation paid off. On Earth, President Lisa Grant watched the battle reports in her secure bunker. Around her, the Emergency Council looked relieved but exhausted. The crisis was over, but the real work was just beginning. "Madam President," said Secretary of Defense Robert Kane, "we need to decide what to do with the alien prisoners and their ships." President Grant had been thinking about this moment for years. "First, we get everything we can from their technology. Second, we find out everything they know about other hostile species. Third, we make sure the galaxy knows that Earth is not helpless." General Pete Adams appeared on the communication screen from his command post. "Madam President, the aliens are asking to speak with you directly. Apparently, they want to discuss terms for their release. Put them through." Admiral Kethvar's image appeared on the screen. He looked old and defeated, his proud bearing gone. When he spoke, his voice was quiet and respectful. "President Grant, I am Admiral Kethvar of the Zephyrian Collective. I formally apologize for our attack on your system. We were misinformed about your capabilities." President Grant studied the alien leader. "Misinformed? You came here to enslave us. You destroyed part of our moon. You threatened our entire planet." "Yes," Admiral Kethvar admitted. "We believed you were a primitive species. We were wrong. What do you know about other hostile aliens?" President Grant asked directly. Admiral Kethvar hesitated, then began to speak. There are many species in the galaxy who consider themselves superior to others. The collective has conquered over 300 worlds, but there are others, the Hive Queens of Andromeda, the Machine Lords of the Spiral Arm, the Death Cults of the Outer Rim, and they all think they can conquer weaker species? Yes, and they will come for Earth eventually. Your planet is rich in resources, and your people would make good slaves. But now, he paused, looking at the human warships surrounding his fleet. Now they will hear about what happened here. President Grant leaned forward. What exactly will they hear? That humanity is not prey. That Earth has teeth. That anyone who attacks your world will face a fleet that can match the collective itself. Dr. Walsh was listening to the conversation from her station on the Valiant. She realized that this was the most important part of the entire encounter. The aliens would carry word of humanity's strength back to their own people and to other hostile species. Captain, she said to Jake Morrison, we didn't just win a battle today. We prevented a war. Maybe several wars. Jake nodded grimly. Every alien species in the galaxy will hear about this. They'll know that humans are dangerous when threatened. Admiral Hughes coordinated the aftermath from Mars Command. Human ships were boarding the alien vessels, capturing technology and taking prisoners. Medical teams were treating wounded aliens according to human standards of care. Information teams were downloading everything they could from alien computers. Status report, she ordered her staff. All alien ships are secure. We've captured 47 alien crew members alive. Their computer systems are partially decoded. We're learning about their homeworlds, their military capabilities, and their knowledge of other species. And the most important question? Yes, sir. We now know the locations of over a dozen hostile alien civilizations that consider Earth a potential target. But we also know their capabilities and their weaknesses. Captain Torres supervised the boarding of the alien flagship personally. Her Marines moved through the damaged corridors carefully, treating the alien survivors with professional respect but taking no chances. Their technology is impressive, reported Sergeant First Class Danny Price over the radio. But their ship design shows they never expected to fight anyone who could fight back. All their weapons point outward, no internal defenses at all. Interesting, Captain Torres replied. They're used to attacking helpless planets, not fighting other warships. The boarding teams were discovering something important about the collective. They were powerful, but they had become weak through too many easy victories. They had forgotten how to face real opposition. Admiral Kethvar sat in the human detention facility aboard the Leviathan, waiting to be questioned. He had time to think about what had happened. The collective had ruled the galaxy through fear and superior technology, but these humans had something the collective had lost long ago. They had the will to fight for their freedom. They had prepared for war while hoping for peace. They had built weapons while praying they would never need to use them. When the test came, they had not failed. A human officer entered his cell. It was Major Chen, leading the interrogation team. Admiral, she said politely, we need to discuss the other threats facing Earth. Your cooperation will determine how we treat you and your crew. Admiral Kethvar looked at the human officer. She was small compared to his species, but her eyes held the same determination he had seen in the human fleet commanders. I will tell you everything, he said. Your species has earned that much respect. As the human fleet began its journey home, carrying alien prisoners and captured technology, word of the battle spread through subspace communications to distant stars. The message was simple but powerful. Earth was no longer alone in the universe, and Earth was no longer defenseless. The humans had expected awe from the aliens. Instead, they had earned something far more valuable. They had earned respect and fear from those who would do them harm. The galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again.